I'm recording this shortly after the new year, and I wanted to put this out here kind of towards the middle end of January as we are kind of hopefully, maybe not hopefully, but maybe well into our resolutions and, after a year of reflection and maybe making some decisions to do things differently. Maybe. That may be you, that may not be you. I used to be a big person with resolutions and because I was a big type A person for a long time, but I'm a little bit different towards them now. I kind of have a little bit of a different philosophy for myself personally. But I want to put this out here because this is also kind of following up to a post that I posted on social media and kind of an interesting response that I got. What I said was, okay, so we're in another new year. That means we're another year closer to death. And what I was basically trying to message in that very short post, it was a very, very short post. I don't even know if it wasn't even a minute. It was probably like 40, 45 seconds. And I could have maybe been a little clearer, but what I was saying is, time is of the essence. And maybe instead of obsessing over our resolutions, let's go ahead and maybe, I'm just put out there, maybe we just look at creating a little bit more meaning in our life. And even if it's just for today, trying it on for size, maybe just think about it for today. And because, with meaning, things that are fleeting have a lot more meaning to them. So this life, knowing that it is all temporary and everything else in it is temporary, has, we assign more meaning because we know it's all temporary. And now that we're a year closer to our death, literally we are, let's look at not only just our resolutions, but let's look at how we're creating meaning in our day-to-day. I think that is a little bit more, at least for me, seems a little bit more realistic. And I think anyone can benefit from that because if we create meaning, we're not getting seduced by these things that maybe don't really fulfill us, like maybe a number of followers or things like that. We're looking at things that are really meaningful to us, how we feel about ourselves internally, how we connect with others, how we connect with the world, how we see our purpose in the world, etc. So that was kind of my all intention around that. And the reason why I'm bringing this up today is just because as we're in January and as we're coming to the end of this first month of the new year, I want to hopefully inspire you to think about how you're creating meaning in your life and hopefully live this year as a year where you feel like it does generate more meaning. What was interesting in terms of this response that I got is I had a very short exchange. They sent something like, why would you start like this? And I explained, what my intent was behind it. And they said, that's fine and good, something like that. But next time start out with a bit more positive. And I thought that was very interesting. And I am not here criticizing the person at all. In fact, I like interaction online, especially if I miss something or something's not clear. I really want to make sure I get it clear. So it doesn't bother me to get something that can seem a little bit, negative. And what I want to say is it's always really important, especially when you're hearing about death or hearing about serious illness or end of life, things like that, pay attention to your response. Because if it is automatically a little defensive or you get a little bit of a, type of response or reaction to it, you need to pay attention to that. That is actually information. Your emotions are always information for you. And most likely a person would have liked a bit of more positive spin, maybe would have preferred that I was less blunt in the beginning because I was a bit blunt and there was a reason for that. If we're being so sensitive about a topic and we have to always kind of spin it with a positive spin, then something is a little bit wrong here, which goes to my point and it proves my point as to why we need to continue to normalize these conversations and education about death and dying all the time. I'm not saying for you to always think about it, that this should rule your life. No, but it's something that's going to happen to each and every one of us. That's what makes us all human, and it doesn't make us better than anyone else. We're all the same. We're all different in our most beautiful ways in terms of how unique we are and how different we are and what we bring to the table. That's so beautiful, but we're all basically the same because we're all going to die. We're all human. We experience the same emotions, even though they may come from different type of experiences. So that is information. And for me, most likely that person just didn't really like how I kind of introduced my little very short video on social media. And again, this is no attack on anybody. it is natural to be afraid of death. And in fact, if you weren't afraid of death, I'd be a little concerned, unless you were someone who was terminally ill and, was really nearing the end of life and has really done a lot of work with themselves and this whole thing, maybe had a hospice team working with them, etc. It is so normal to be afraid of death. Even as someone who has been around death for a very long time, I was afraid of dying, mostly because I was afraid of the suffering, but also what my serious illness in the last few years, the illnesses and conditions I had, what it really meant for me, my quality of life, and ultimately death. So it is natural to be afraid of death. And I've seen many deaths. I've seen great deaths. I've seen deaths that could have been better for different reasons. But this is just information for you. So if you're having a little bit of a reaction to any of this information, this topic, whatever, that's information for you to sit with it and again, really think about what are your feelings around it. Are you having fear? Especially when we talk about anger, when we talk about this, these type of reactions that we see on social media, that can be a little bit harsh, or that can be really, focused on criticism that maybe isn't constructive, that's just kind of attacking. That is just information. That is from that person. That's not about you. It's about them, and it's about their own whatever. And usually, it's anger, and it's anger that is in front of another emotion. And we talked about this, in previous videos, where anger is a secondary emotion, meaning that there is always an emotion beneath it / behind it. And usually that emotion or emotions include things like grief, include things like fear, for example. So just let that sit with you. Let it sit with you that we are a year closer to death. I know we don't know when we're going to die, but we are closer than we were yesterday, last year, for example. And maybe you're not going to do anything super drastic this year, and that's totally fine. But you can hopefully create a little bit more meaning, which is really going to enrich your life a whole lot more. And that's the stuff that you're going to really remember, especially when you're on your deathbed and at the end of life. It's not how many cars you have and how much money and all that kind of stuff. It's how you are creating meaning, i.e., how your connection with yourself, your connection with other people, and the world around you. So I am wishing you the absolute best year thus far, and hopefully many, many more to come. And I hope you get what you want out of it. I really, really do. We all deserve that in the end. So we'll continue to normalize these conversations and education about death and dying, because it's that important. And in the meantime, thinking about you and here if you have any questions, any concerns, anything else I can clarify for you. I will talk to you soon. Take care.